Good evening. Welcome to the Fort Worth Report's District 10 Special Election Forum featuring the two candidates who are seeking the City Council seat held by Alan Blaylock, who's stepping down to run for state legislature. I'm Scott Nishimura, the senior editor for Government Accountability here at the Report. I'm also one of our two Fort Worth City Hall reporters. I want to first acknowledge the team behind the camera here, a number of people helping pull this event off. Maria Crane, Melissa Aguilera, Forrest Milburn, my teammate on the Government Accountability team, Cecil Lenzen, who's going to be covering this forum and writing a story about it for tomorrow. Just a real quick note on a couple of other things we have coming up at the Fort Worth Report. If you can't get enough of this forum, there's another one tomorrow night featuring our Arlington city, mayor and city council candidates. It's going to be at Tarrant County College Southeast. More information about that at fortworthreport.org. And we have our the Fort Worth Report's 5th birthday party coming up Monday. And here's how to get an invitation to that. You got to be a member. And how do you become a member? You can donate at any level, and the last day to do that and get an invitation to this event is Friday. So you can more information about that at fortworthreport.org as well. So let's dive right into the reason why we're here tonight. This is already shaped up to be a very interesting race. Why don't let's have the two candidates, Chris and Alicia, introduce yourselves, 90 seconds apiece, and we'll dive right into the questions.
Chris Jamieson, born and raised in Louisville and Flower Mound area. I went to Louisville High School, graduated there, and then went on to University of North Texas, studied entrepreneurship and strategic management. I'm continuing my studies at MIT. I'll graduate this year with a entrepreneurial master's degree. I moved to Fort Worth in 2008 when I met my wife. We will celebrate 17 years marriage this June, and I have a beautiful daughter, Emma. She turns 14 in June as well. I am a career businessman. I've been in business in the last 30 years. I've bought and sold about a dozen companies. And I was approached to run when Alan decided to vacate the seat, and I jumped at the chance, and I'm looking forward to making a difference.
Yeah. Alicia?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for everybody that's here is putting this all together. Thank you, Scott. My name is Alicia Ortiz, and I'm running for Fort Worth City Council District 10. I've been community involved for the last 25 years in different capacities throughout my community, small business owner. My relationships with city leaders and developers over the years when I was a community volunteer led me to working at City Hall for 7 years. So I was a district director there for the council member at the time, Carrie Moon, for 7 years, and I really was able to understand from a different perspective how inner workings of government happens. I was able to utilize that to communicate and build bridges for the community, and I have the anticipation to lead the district to be able to do that and bring that community voice forward. And I look forward to doing that. Thank you.
Let's talk about the interest in this race has already generated. It's a contested race with no incumbent, and yet it's generated a lot of attention. You got in a little bit late, which you've acknowledged, but even so, why all this fervor? Why so much attention on a district city council race?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think there's a lot of political pull for different reasons. My interest, I know a lot of people say I got in late, but really I was it late when the candidate filing was until February. So I see it as just a timing. I wanted to be able to step in to serve the community, which I've done in a different capacity with a lot of the knowledge that I have in the background. But the interest, I think, is just comes down to where the money is in the finance reports, where the backing is from that, and who's driving it, as opposed to the real impact, which should be from the people. It should be for the people and bringing their voice forward. And so I think there's just a lot of interest in that, and who's going to bring that forward and be that person.
So Chris, both of you seem to be talking about the issues pretty similarly. Do you see yourselves as, and Alicia, I'd like you to answer this question too, approaching this office differently, managing it differently?
You know, I think that there's this district is so important, and I think that it's kind of been ignored by Fort Worth for a long time. I think that the reason that I've been getting the support that I have is because with my business experience and the way that I look at things and the way I approach things, I'm going to make an impact right away. You know, with fiscal responsibility in a business, you have to be smart about how you spend money. There's two sides of every budget. There's your income and there's your expense, and we have to. They're both important. We have to focus on those, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth smartly, and I'm the person to do that.
Would you like to respond to that?
So sure. So we have, I think, a very interesting dichotomy within District 10. There's been a lot of growth and some established growth in the east side of 35. On the west side, we have development growing at a rapid pace that has gone ahead too far above our infrastructure. So we need somebody who understands how to implement the projects in a way that can actually get done, and I've done that. The dollars, yes, we have dollars of fiscal responsibility, the budgets, but we have to look at our assets and our liabilities. We have to look at our, reducing our dollars from a general fund, and we also need to reevaluate where our CSPT dollars are going as well. And so there's a lot of dollars that are out there that we could reallocate to be more impactful to our communities that could help with the future growth of the west side, which is a lot of right now rooftops, and we need to balance that out with smart growth, which is the mixed use developments and commercial to offset that tax base.
Okay. Let's talk about budget deficits, property taxes. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure in Fort Worth to keep the tax rate low. Yet we keep growing. The demand for city services is not going to abate. We're facing budget deficits already. We've got bills coming up in the next legislature that are potentially going to limit our ability to fund government. How would you approach this if you're on the city council in context with this pressure to keep the tax rate low?
So our budget is $3 billion is a lot, but we have an operating and maintenance budget. We have a debt service as well, so we have to look at where our dollars going. And right now, JCHOP is doing a great job of asking the department heads to look at how they can reduce the dollars within their own budgets. As a city council, we need to do that at a deeper level. We have dollars that I think are being expended without accountability, and we need to do some audits to kind of see where we can try to trim any of the wasteful dollars so we can then go back to the taxpayers and perhaps provide them some relief moving forward.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I think that growth should pay for growth, and growth is an opportunity to get better. The city services that we have, we need to focus on those. The growth that's lacked on the west side, or the planning that's lacked on the west side, is so vital. I mean, we need to reevaluate that and be much more proactive than reactive, and that's what we've been. There's a lot of opportunities to get smart about how we're spending the money, and we're in a hiring freeze right now, and that's a good opportunity for us to really evaluate what we really need to be spending money on and what we can do without.
Okay. Let's talk about access to government, and I'll let you go first on this. Obviously, there's a lot of concern out there today about citizens' access to government and their elected officials. How would you, if in this office, engage with constituents?
I think Alan Blaylock's done a really good job being available, being a part of this community, and making sure that he is being an advocate for the citizens, but also understanding the importance of having growth partners. And I think that it's important to continue that. You need to make sure that anytime we have, we want to grow, we want to bring in commercial partners, but we need to make sure that we're meeting the needs. It benefits the city, it benefits the constituents, and it's something that they are aware of. There's transparency for that.
Okay. Alicia?
Communication is a huge thing. I know that going out into the communities and talking with a lot of different members of the community, one of the biggest things that they've been telling us is that they feel disconnected from downtown, from City Hall. And when I was a district director, one of the biggest things that we did was to communicate. We were the first to provide a newsletter, and that's what started from our office and then slowly expanded into what you see today. So if you were logging into the city of Fort Worth, you can ask for a newsletter from your city council representative. That started in our office because we knew it was very important for us to engage with the residents and to be able to have that dialogue and have them feel as though if they're going to call our office, we answer, we respond. And that's exactly what I want to be able to do once I get into office, is to be able to be a responsive office, be engaged, and be with the people who are looking for us to be connected with. That's our role. They chose us to be in that position. We should be available to them.
Let's get back to the matter of endorsements and money in this race. Chris, you have locked up a lot of endorsements. There's a lot of money that's coming into your campaign. And again, to what extent was this at least partially a product of the fact that you were in the race a little earlier? And Alicia, how does this affect your ability to campaign? How has it changed the way you're campaigning for this? Let's start with you, Chris.
Okay. You know, the endorsements that I have, we both met with just about everybody there is, you know, the same endorsements, the same people. And through those conversations, they felt like I was the better fit. They felt like that my business experience was going to give me different lenses and give me, you know, the dais right now has suffered from a lack of business leaders on it. And I was an opportunity for us to get better. And I'm going to come in with a business mindset and really dive into the finance side of it and find ways to be smarter and save money.
Okay. Alicia?
So endorsements, yeah, that's a big one. And I think that kind of to your earlier question, the interest in this race is kind of coming out with the endorsements. Actually, I was told that it wasn't merit-based, it was politically based. So I think that's probably going to be the difference in our discussion, is that this is more political than you realize. I have endorsements from current council members, from past council members, from neighboring council, and ISD, neighborhood leaders. All of that is from people that have very much close to me knowledge of my work ethic, and what I've done for the community, and what I continue to do and want to do.
Let's talk about your voting histories, Chris. I mean, you've had a long history of voting in national elections, but not local elections until recently. And I know Alicia's campaign is making an issue out of this. Can you address that?
Yeah, sure. You know,
Well.
as we talked about, I've spent time building family, building businesses, and I think that for me, over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot's changed in the world, and I started looking around saying I need to get involved. I've been involved in a lot of nonprofits and other organizations, but I felt like that I needed to really get more vocal and more involved, so that's what I've been doing, and that's why I'm running.
Alicia?
I think it comes out to patriotic duty. I mean, it's our civic duty to be able to go out and vote the voice. I've always encouraged it to the community. Educate yourself, find the right candidate for you, and that's really, at the end of the day, what we want to have, is an educated voter, somebody who knows, has done their research, and makes that vote, cast their ballot. That's all it is. It's something that I've done for years and will continue to do. I was there to champion for the Fort Worth officers, for the CCPD, when it was going to look to be defunded. There was many road infrastructure bond projects that were looking to be on bond packages. I was there to support that. Over the years, I've done that time and time again, continually to push and make sure that that was done for our community, because it was important to me.
Let's talk next about partisanship at the cities. These races are nonpartisan, obviously, right? But everybody sort of knows where everybody stands. And partisanship has been creeping into the city more and more, particularly with regard to certain issues. Where do you view that as playing a role in our city government?
So I think it is an unfortunate place that we are right now. We get asked that question all the time. We've faced that probably, more times than we would like, when this is supposed to be nonpartisan. But we do have our morals and our values, and so we stick and abide by those. And so that, by its very definition, will put us into one camp or the other. But I will tell you this, that if someone calls or emails, I'm not looking to say if they're on one camp or the other. They're a constituent of mine, I'm going to respond. And I've always done that, and I will continue to do so, because it's important to me that we work for the community, not just for what political party they're aligned to. And if you'll see my endorsements, I have from both sides, because I can work with both people from both sides of the aisle.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, additionally, I think that it's anybody who's willing to work together to make District 10 better. You know, my door's open. I think that it's important that that we all do work together to make it a better place. We need to protect the community and continue moving it forward.
So staying in this vein, in talking about the Texas Senate 9 race and Taylor Remmett flipping that district blue, at least momentarily, what is your obviously District 10 is in large, or is it entirely in Senate 9? And to what extent does that affect the campaign strategy, and do you think District 10 is shifting?
I mean, I think that you know, at the end of the day, for this position, I think that it's who is going to do the best job and who's going to be the loudest champion for District 10. I think that, you know, this area is smart. They're an educated voter, and that's the way they're going to vote.
The voters nowadays are becoming more educated, and they're asking a lot deeper questions. And so I think you'll find that people will be more inclined to do their homework, and they'll choose the candidate that suits them best.
All right, let's talk about public education. Public education is obviously not what we pay City Hall to do, but it's our city leaders have become increasingly interested in public education. Keller ISD takes up a lot of District 10, for example. So how do you, first of all, are Keller ISD politics in this race at all? How does that affect how you view your role? How do you view your role as a city council member overlapping with public education?
Sure. So public education is very important. They're not only for the teachers that are molding the minds of our future voters and hopefully residents of Fort Worth, but we also have our students who are watching the politics. The Keller ISD split discussion was very impactful to the community, and I think it's very imperative that while we don't have a say as to how the ISD board manages, we can hold them accountable for transparency and making sure that there is some part of an understanding that those residents that they're talking about are actually within our District 10. And so we need to champion for their voice, because that is very critical for the future. We have teachers who are concerned, are they going to have a job? But from that, we were able to see the youth come forward and see the importance of local elections, which I don't think that would have happened had the unfortunate discussion with Keller ISD splitting or wanting to split would have taken place. And so there is always a learning portion of that, and I think as a city we also need to learn. And I think what's critical is, as a city, we need to have those good open partnerships and dialogues with the ISDs, because not only is it development, but it's our students and our teachers and those who live within our community. We need to have those dialogues to understand what is the plan for the future. Keller ISD right now is having an issue, and we're looking at campuses that are going to be empty. What is that going to look like as a city? What are we going to do with those empty campuses? How are we going to repurpose those? What is that going to look like for our students? Where are they going to be managed to? How is that going to impact with their routes to school, their bus routes? All of those things do intertwine at some point in time, so we do need to be engaged with that. And that's why I want to make sure that we hold the TOMA violations or any transparency issues accountable to the board.
Okay. Chris?
So as a product of public school and a mom, a single parent who was a career educator and an administrator, I saw firsthand the struggles that public schools have to go through. And I think that, you know, you've got an unfortunate situation with Keller. I think you have a lot of districts right now that are struggling. There's budget deficits, and I think that anytime you have that, it's not something to be afraid of. I think it's an opportunity for those districts to get better. We can't get involved in all the things that go on with the district, but we can be supportive and we can support the surrounding of it. And I think, at the end of the day, we're all going to get better.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Alan Blaylock, your the predecessor in this race earlier. I want you guys to grade Alan Blaylock and the job that he's done for this district. And how would you see yourselves doing this job in comparison to the way he did it?
So I'm going first.
Please.
So I mentioned him a couple questions ago, and I think that he's done a very good job. I think that he's a level head. I think that he really does care about the district. He lets his door is open. He listens to the constituents. He fights for them at City Hall, and I think he also is a champion for the businesses that are coming in, because they're so vital to the growth of this city, this district. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I think that the only difference is my business mindset is I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna find ways that we can make the dollar go further and be smarter about how we're spending and investing in the growth of District 10.
Okay. We want to leave room for questions from the audience, and we're taking questions through the chat. So feel free to fire those in, and they'll be relayed to us. We have already received some questions that have come directly to me through this week, and one of them is, and this comes back to endorsements. And you and I had a chat about your campaign finance report when it came out, and you've characterized a lot of your support, major support, is coming from customers, right? People who you've had business relationships with. A lot of them on their face look like they could be people who would have interest with the city. So and your campaign treasurer took a look, as you know, at this race and decided against running for it because of conflicts with his business. So how would you approach that? Those kinds of conflicts.
I think that, again, anybody who is working together to make District 10 better, that's a good thing. I think, I said it earlier, my door's always open, and anybody who's willing to work with me, I'm going to work with them. I think that the ability to build relationships and work together is something that's so vital in this. You have a lot of road projects here that require somebody who can build relationships with multiple jurisdictions. So you have Tarrant County, you have Hazlet, you have Keller, you have Fort Worth, you have TxDOT. All of those things require somebody who can build relationships and work together to make a win-win, and that's what the people that are supporting me, they understand that that's how I'm going to get things done.
You guys, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the dialogue that we need to have with the neighboring communities. But I think on the bigger picture, we need to refocus our thoughts as to what is it that we want for our future of District 10. And we need to plan ahead. It's good to look at the budget, but we have the comprehensive plan, we have the Move a Million, we have things that we need to plan for that starts today, so that we're not in the deficit that we've been in the last 20 years. We need to be able to do that, and that starts with the dialogue of the entities that are within the City Hall, outside City Hall, and that goes with what we have within our community members, and the endorsements that we have is also from the community. That's what I have, is I have the community behind me. They're the ones that are supporting me financially, because that's what is driving my campaign forward, is the voice of the community.
Do you both see yourselves as getting into this office and doing it for a while? What's your sense of that? So Chris, let's go.
Yeah, I think I think that as long as I'm able to make a difference and it's a positive and we're growing and we're getting better, I'm here for the long haul. I think that the way that I work is, once I get involved and that's worked with me knows that's exactly how I do things. So I'm here.
Alicia?
Same. This is to serve the community in a different capacity. I've been doing it all my life. Since I've been here in the community in the north, I have volunteered. That led me to City Hall. I did that for 7 years. I did even while I was overseas, because it was important to me to make sure that we were a responsive office. I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning, listen to city council, and listen to the meetings, and hit the ground running every day, because it was important to me that the community knew that there was ongoing support and capability of having that open communication, and I will continue to do so. And this is just to be able to serve the community at a different level.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about one of the charter amendments that is going to be before the voters May 2nd, mayor and council pay. This is going to be the third time in 10 years that this issue has come back to the voters. Voters resoundingly rejected a pay raise 10 years ago, and more narrowly turned one down in 2022. That one was there are obviously two very different looking proposals in 2016, 2022. The one in 2022 was indexed to the compensation of department heads. And do you guys have a perspective on how important it is to raise the pay, or to have a level of compensation for the mayor and city council that is greater than what it is now?
Sure. So I think it's important that we look at it from a perspective of where we are right now financially as a city. I would not be in favor. I know the reasons behind it, because it's not very much, but I think if you're stepping into this role, it's not for a career. It really is to serve the community, and so the compensation is minimal to reflect the fact that it is not a career move type of position. It ever has been. And I think that's what failed in past measures, was to just be able to understand that it's not for you to earn. But I do understand that things cost more, and there's a dialogue out there that people are interested, like, well, maybe they should get a little bit more. So that's going to be up to the voters to decide.
But you're not in favor of
I'm not going to go into it and saying that give me a raise. That's not what I'm here for. So I think that would be.
Well, you're not in there yet.
Right, exactly. But I wouldn't support it.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I think that, there's an opportunity there, and I think that it's a conversation that needs to happen, but I think right now it's not the right time. I think you have a budget deficit. You're talking about a hiring freeze. This is not the time to be increasing the pay.
How do you have a sense of how the voters view this one this time around?
I will tell you that what I'm getting from voters, and when I'm meeting with them at the doors, is that they actually are in favor of it. So I'll let the voters decide what the ultimate decision is, but currently right now that is what many of them are saying. It's like, it's not enough. You mean, for all the hours that you put in as a council person, we know it's not just a part-time job. It really is more than a full-time job. So they're understanding that. So a lot of the dialogue that I've been having has been to support it.
If that's the case, what do you think has changed between now and 4 years ago?
I think people understand that things are, there's an expectation that it is, and an understanding as well that it's not a part-time job, that there's an expectation to always be available at any given time. And so then it's not just a Monday through Friday, it's a weekend, it's in the evenings. So I think they're starting to realize the amount of time and effort that goes through the hours of a person in this position.
Okay. Chris, what are you hearing from voters on?
Yeah, I think that when we're canvassing and we're talking to people, it's a good opportunity to really take a temperature of what people are feeling. And I think that we're hearing similar, is that people have an understanding of the time and the involvement and the dedication that's required for that position, and they feel like that the pay should be adjusted.
Let's talk about the bond. You've said you're doing a lot of door knocking right now, and you've said that a lot of people aren't even aware that we have an $845 million bond election also before the voters.
Correct.
May 2nd. What are you hearing from people about that, and how they feel about it?
Sure. For the most part, they're surprised at first, but they're appreciative of the information and the connections that I'm giving them to be able to find it from the city website, so that they can be educated voters at the end of the day. They understand, but for the most part, it's more of okay, they like the fact that there's different propositions that they can vote for or against. The all or nothing was the first question. Is all or nothing? No, this is separated out. And so that is appealing to them, because they feel like they have more control over where the dollars are going to go.
Chris, what?
Yeah, it's the conversation is, there is some that are not aware of it. There are some that are very aware of it. I think that the more of the surprise is just for as big as an influence District 10 is on the city, the small amount of money that's going to District 10 for roads and infrastructure, that's what's really getting people's attention. Is it's 10.4 million. That's what we're getting. Now we have some other road projects, but that's a surprise.
Are you getting a sense from voters that they favor some of these bond propositions more than others?
I think it's a mix. I think, you're going to always find people that are going to be more focused on certain things than others, and I think that's what's great about an election like this, is it gives voters the ability to vote, and they'll make the ultimate decision.
What, Alicia?
Kind of seeing the same mixture. That once they start to understand what's out there, there is some questions about the council pay that's a little bit more eye-glaring for them because of the shortfall that we currently are and the budget projections in the future. So they do discuss about that. But for the most part, they understand the road infrastructure, of course, is a big need. They do have questions about the public safety. They want to see that as well, because some of the areas that I've gone to have some challenges, and so they want to be able to support that. So we have those kind of dialogues. So that's kind of what's floating more to the top.
Are you finding that people are raising more questions or appear troubled about any of the bond propositions?
No, I think there's discussion about how we're going to maintain our property tax rate or try to lower it without looking at our own budget, going into a bond-related topic. So there's discussion about that. Is the shortfall that we currently have, the hiring freeze. What is it going to look like for me as a taxpayer? Am I going to still have the same basic city services, or is that going to get depleted as well to a certain extent? So there's concerns about that, and trying to address that through the dialogue. And that's where the city needs to be able to work harder to be able to, and I'm not saying that they aren't, I think they are trying very hard to try to find that good balance to make sure that it does not happen. And so that the city services are still maintained at a level of expectation from taxpayers' point of view.
Chris, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, $845 million. That's a huge debt load for the city, and I think that what we're hearing is that they just want transparency. They want to make sure that if they do vote for it, that the money is going to go where it needs to go, and if elected, my focus is to make sure that all that money goes where it needs to go as fast as it can, because District 10 needs it.
How many people do you think are going to come out and vote in District 10?
I'm thinking probably about 2,500.
2,500 total votes?
For the votes,
or how many
no, for the total votes to win.
To win.
But for that, that's a very good question, because we've got, when I door knock, a lot of people start already skipping over to the May 26th, and they kind of oversee the fact that there's even a local election. So it's a numbers game. I'm not sure where that's going to fall.
Chris?
Yeah, I think typically in an in-cycle election for city council, it's about 3,000, 3,200. I think in an off-cycle like this, you're looking somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500. I think with the bond package, it changes a little bit, but there's also the situation where there's some fatigue. There's been a lot of elections, there's been a lot of voting, there's been a lot of campaigning, and I think that it's been a busy season.
How do you, in your conversations with the voters, how do you sense that people feel about their city government right now? And this is really the central question that people have about, for example, mayor and council pay. Does that issue just come down to how people feel in that moment in the voting booth?
I think there's a lot of interesting dialogue out there with regards to the charter amendments and the propositions. I think currently right now the city of Fort Worth is having those bond meetings, and to try to give the community the ability to ask those more detailed questions. And I think once they get through that cycle, they'll be able to make those educated decisions when that time comes. But there are good dialogue out there that I think city staff is doing a great job addressing and closing those loops, because they want to be able to make sure that the voters and those that are engaged in these meetings do have all the information possible when the time comes.
How do you think people feel about the mayor and council?
Mayor council as just the mayor council, or just the pay, or
just about the job that they're doing?
Not much has been shared. When I go door knocking with that, I think there is the same expectation that I think anybody has, is accountability and making sure that they are good stewards of our tax dollars and they are good representatives of our community voice and the needs of the community. And when you are in that position, just being held accountable to not forget that what got you there. You know, you're a part of the community. We need to make sure that there are needs here that need to be met. How are you going to bring that to the table? And are you going to voice that forward loud enough so that way we can get those dollars when a bond package does come through or when our budget is asking for the needs of certain districts? Are you going to champion for us loudly so that way we can get those dollars?
Of course, what are you hearing from voters about how they feel about the mayor and council?
I mean, I think that ultimately they feel like that District 10 is not prioritized. It's one of the fastest growing districts. It has the largest tax base. It's out of balance with residential versus commercial, but we have the largest taxpayer in the city with Hillwood. And there is a difference in District 10. There's the east side of 35, which has had a lot more development, a lot more focus. There's the west side that has pretty much been forgotten. And a lot of the developments that have happened over there, there's not been a lot of proactive growth. It's been more reactive. And I think that that's where people they're struggling is they want to know, when is that going to get better? You know, a lot of the past city council members for that district, I know it's been redistricted, lived on the east side. I'll be the first one that's lived on the west side, and I think that's what people are really gravitating towards is I see it, I live it, I drive it every day, and we need to do a whole lot better.
Okay, thank you. I think this brings us to the close of our forum. Why don't we, and we're going to invite the candidates to give closing statements. Chris, why don't we start with you?
You know, I am excited about this opportunity. I have, you know, the excitement of meeting as many people as I can. I'm excited about working hard. I'm excited about making District 10 better. I know I can do it. I know that with my business experience, I'm the right person for the job, and I look forward to getting to work.
Thank you. Alicia?
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Chris, for being here. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to be present and answer the questions here. I think that as a candidate, it's really important to be in front of as many people as possible to have these types of dialogues so that you can get to know us better and make your informed vote. I do hope that you see that my past experience and integration of my volunteer hours throughout the years for my community shows you just how dedicated I am to the community and to its growth and to its future growth. We do have things to learn from, and I've seen where we've come from, seeing where we've gone, and I would love to be able to push it forward for a vision for the future that I know will be most beneficial to District 10 and to the constituents of that district. Thank you.
All right. Chris Jamieson, Alicia Ortiz, thank you very much, and thank you to the readers of the Fort Worth Report for tuning in for this.